Hello, I'm Dr. Sarah Bone. Welcome to Yodo. Today we're going to discuss some suggestions of things to say and some things to avoid when given information that a close friend or loved one has a serious illness and may even be terminal. I would like for you to post comments below if you've experienced having a comforting statement given to you, or if something was said to you inadvertently that was not successful in providing comfort. Each of us has been in a situation where we have learned worrisome news from a physician about our health or about a loved one's health. It could have been about a friend or a family member, but when we hear these things, our initial reaction of our head swimming, and then we have to struggle and grapple with that concept of that new illness, and then there's that time about having to talk about it and to tell others that difficult news. It's a struggle for everyone. That's natural. We have so many medications and treatments that sometimes we can be a little bit dismissive of a life-changing diagnosis. Chronic illnesses such as diabetes or heart disease can sometimes get shrugged off. They do limit the life and they can cause considerable issues though. Some disease symptoms are across an entire spectrum of everything of just being a nuisance from having to take a medication to being really frightening at other points during the disease process. But other diagnoses are impactful and difficult to hear about just because of their reputation. Cancer for sure and dementia are two very common processes that really strike fear in a person and family, as they are often understood as being terminal from the very beginning at the time of that diagnosis being made. They are truly limiting in the number of years and the quality of life remaining. Sometimes disease risks are very high from the moment of the diagnosis being made, and we know that there's a troublesome road ahead. How to navigate what to say and saying them in the right situation can be difficult. We want to share words of comfort, and this may not be a situation that we faced very often. Sometimes our own fears and our own worries can limit what we have to say and the armamentarium that we have for our words. Possibly changes that occur that we're worried about, and then the intense reminder that we're all mortal. So it gets pretty sticky pretty fast. Delivering verbal support acknowledges the situation and can open the door to a deeper relationship. Allow your loved one to hear that you care and you're interested. They may not be comfortable sharing everything when they first break the news to you, but your openness to listen lets them know that you're okay to hear more when they're willing to say more. Let them know that they can share and break the ice. Depending on your relationship and everyone's personalities, you might be able to defuse some of those intense emotions with a little bit of humor. But you have to be very careful using humor, as that approach can come off calloused or rude. If that's not your skill set, it's not the situation for you to test the environment of learning on how to use humor in difficult situations. If you have that nature, or the patient does, and your relationship can tolerate it, sarcasm can provide a little bit of tension release for some people. Likely, you and your loved one will feel an entire range of strong emotions over a spectrum: disbelief, fear, anger, hopelessness, frustration or dread, anxiety, sadness, grief, and yes, pre-bereavement is normal. Possibly disbelief and sometimes even blame can play a role in the complicated feelings that emerge at this time. Slow down the relationship a little bit and be kind to yourself and to them. It can make a world of difference for both of you. Everyone has a busy schedule, and being interrupted by a health issue is disruptive and scary. Focus on what you must and what you can. When communicating with them, try to focus on the person and not their illness. They might give you a list of concerns or even a litany of questions, but it doesn't mean you have to address everything or even fix anything. They may just want a sounding board. Please maintain contact, because withdrawal at this point could leave them having feelings of isolation or abandonment. In some situations, you may not be certain how to help. Many people are happy to know that you care, and simply telling them something like, "I don't know how I can help, but I want to hear your concerns." For many, a comment like that can be enough to reassure them. Others may need more supportive words and deeds. It's common for the relationship to change when a frightening diagnosis is uncovered, and as the condition changes, so will the relationship and the person. The one thing that will remain the same is change is always happening for everyone. Their future is changing, as is yours. Remind them that you care about them and that they are in your thoughts. Let them know if your responsibilities are pulling you in a different direction. If you have had other complicated experiences with this person, it might give you the opportunity to revisit some of those other challenges that you have faced together. Memories that you share can be a meaningful reminder for both of you how important your relationship really is. As you hear them out, be careful not to reduce that person's feelings by comparing them to someone else. We'll go through a little list of some things to keep in mind. First, this person is dear to you and has had an impact on your life. Remind them that you love them and that they are important to you. The words can ensure them that you don't wish for them to feel alone in their illness. Next, offer words that relate you admire their courage. It takes a lot of courage to hear what the doctor has said after bad news has been delivered and to not shut down. If they're able to give you the details, that means that they have listened and they have heard. Be careful to steer away from calling them a fighter, though, because some people can begin to feel trapped into continuing treatment later when the disease process has advanced considerably. Now they're mentally, physically, or emotionally tired, and their well-meaning loved ones trying to encourage them and bolster them, calling them a fighter may make them feel like they're forced into continuing treatment when they no longer wish that. In our video on Health by the Generations, we actually talk about how hard it is and how difficult it can be for anyone to have someone question their choices. We never want to be harsh or discouraging. Also, it takes a brave person to face their loved ones and friends and tell them of the reality of a serious illness. Let your person know that you admire the spirit and that they inspire you. A third tip is about to offer help. For some, it can be reassuring to hear from others that there is a desire for help. And if you want to be present for them, let them know. Sometimes the physical presence may not be possible, and emotional presence is what you can provide. Tell them how you offer to help them. You can simply let them know, I'm emotionally present for you and I want to offer you my support and love as this is such an important time for you. As a culture and as a society, we're in a very different place now than we were in times prior to 2020. We have all learned how to communicate when factors out of our control will not permit us to be physically present. We use this knowledge and how we've learned to our advantage in our daily life. We've got phone apps and video calls and electronic pictures that we can use so that we can be present with a person. Number 4 suggestion is to let them know you don't know. Let them know you're aware that you can't imagine how they feel. It has to be difficult to hear the news and to process the impact of changes that might occur in their life and in their health, and that they need to tell friends and family is another hurdle for a person entirely. Offer to tell them that it's okay if they're not clear how they feel or if they don't want to share much information. When they're ready to talk about how they feel and what their experience is and what their worries are, you want to be a part of that conversation. It can be off-putting to a person when they have grappled with the information and processed it and gotten up the fortitude to tell people, but instead of the listener hearing, the listener wants to say, I know just how you feel. Everyone's health journey is different. Let your loved one have their feelings and try not to minimize how they feel or steal their momentum. They may not share much at the beginning, and that's okay. Don't pry. They may want to tell you more over time. Next is to restate their importance to you. Gently let them know that you have feelings for them and how important they are to you, that you care about them. But you might want to consider how to say this, as you do not want them to feel that their illness will somehow become a burden on you or imply that because they have a health issue, they can't provide what you need anymore. Simply telling them that they are important and that you love them should be enough. We don't want a person to misconstrue that they have less meaning to us because they have a health change and they're no longer going to be able to fulfill the role they previously held with us. Instead, let them know that their feelings, hopes, dreams, their fears, joys, their tears are shared by you. Give them strength by letting them know that you're a better person because of them. Tell them you would like to reduce their suffering if it would be in your power, and that they have given you strength in the past and you'd like to return that gift to them. Keep in mind you want to show empathy and compassion. If you're able to spend more time with them, let them know that. Offer to go see them and tell them that you would like to set a date to come by and spend time with them. If your distance or life does not allow for that, let them know that you wish you had time to visit with them. Offer to stay in touch and then do it. As your relationship changes, the words you use, the topics you discuss are also likely to change. This may be a different type of communication than you've ever had with this person, and you might both be a little bit uncomfortable for a while. Occasionally, when a person becomes ill, loved ones may distance themselves out of fear or feeling like they don't know how to interact, and it leaves that person feeling isolated. It's sad but true that sometimes this happens for multiple reasons. They may be facing worries and anticipating suffering, progression of their illness, and especially loss of their strength, mobility, relationships, and for some, money. Being ill is financially costly. So sometimes people pull away when they learn of a serious or a terminal illness, and spending time with that person that has a reduced quality of life may be uncomfortable for both people. But it reminds us all that we're mortal and there may be unpleasant circumstances or symptoms that the patient is enduring, and sometimes we don't know what to say or what to do. Reassure them that you care about them. Sometimes patients have changes from the disease, or they're possibly so fearful and anxious that they have personality changes that can make that relationship change. The drama and upset in a person's life when facing a devastating change of an advanced disease or a life-limiting illness can turn a person and their family's life upside down. With some illnesses, there can be changes in their demeanor, their personality, and then their ability to interact with others, understand their surroundings, or interpret what's happening around them. And it certainly is uncomfortable, and it puts us all in a vulnerable place emotionally. Consider sending a card or letter. The advantages here are many. Your space on the card is limited, so you need to be brief. You can write out your thoughts a few times before you put it on the card, and it gives you time to consider what you're going to say. It is a tangible item, so they could post it on the bathroom mirror, on the fridge, or keep it close by them in the recliner or in their bed, and they can refer to it again and again. For me, I like sending cards as I think it's fun to get something in the mail other than a bill. Say something simple and truthful. I wish this wasn't happening to you. This must be very hard for you to share, and I'm glad that you shared it with me. I want to be here for you. Offer a suggestion of help that you can provide. Tell them what you can do. You could clean out the garage, clean out their fridge. For us in Florida, help getting ready for hurricane season. When we lived up north, helping someone get ready for storm season or snow season. Those types of things were really appreciated. Bringing dinner or cooking dinner, doing some shopping for groceries, helping them get out to an appointment, taking on their laundry for a week, taking them to a pedicure or a manicure. You might only be able to share a little bit of time with them, and for many, that company is a welcome relief. You could watch a movie, play cards, play chess, do a puzzle. Be concrete in your offer of what you can do, and also clarify who's going to be paying. When spending time with a loved one that has a serious illness, it's really thought-provoking, and it may reveal some of our own feelings and unrealized hopes and dreams. It certainly can put us in a sober mood when we consider how many remaining birthdays or special holidays we might have left together to share. When we're counting our last months and weeks together, the mood can become very heavy. Saying something that comes out wrong or is interpreted as harsh or uncaring, it happens. When it does happen, apologize, let them know you are sorry, that that was not your intention, and move on. It happens more often than people like. There is the effort to communicate, and because that's present, that's better than being met with silence. If a person that you have in your life has met you and your illness with silence, address it with your loved one and ask them to open up with you about the decrease in communication. It might take a little bit of compromise from both of you to work it out, but it might be better off for both of you to hear why you're not communicating anymore. We have touched on a few comments to be cautious of, and here are a few more. I'm sure you will be fine. It sounds dismissive of the severity of their illness. I know what you've been going through. Every journey is different, and you don't know what they're going through. I'm sure they were wrong. It discounts their diagnosis and their physician. Everything happens for a reason. It implies guilt. God has a plan, or you're only given what you can handle. And that puts that burden again on them that this is out of their control and they have to continue to fight. Too much optimism can be off-putting for some people, and too little is also upsetting. When you offer, "Is there anything I can do for you?" or "Let me know if there's something I can do for you," sometimes that can sound hollow and it may put burden on them, one, to think of something, and two, they have to still ask you for it. Some people don't want to ask because if you're not able to do it, they feel like they've been denied. Generally, you should try to avoid any statement that begins with "at least," because there's no bright side to what is happening. This is just simply a no-go. Words of encouragement that can come out wrong might also include, "You'll get better," "You will bear it," and that kind of suggests disbelief. "Your kids, they're going to be fine without you." It suggests insignificance of the person. "Your spouse will remarry." Unless that you say this in jest and your relationship can stand up to that comment, just don't say that. "You have a lot to live for." It sounds great, but people feel like it adds pressure to them. "You will be remembered." That makes it sound like they're already dead. To offer your journey and your experience or experience of another person, it compares them and their journey. And that's not a good thing to do either. Try to avoid pity. The poor you statements are not helpful and can make some people really angry. Words should be sincere and they should come from your heart. While I was reviewing this, it's just such a good reminder of how challenging these conversations can be to navigate. Some statements might not be useful and others might be actually hurtful. So learning how to communicate is tricky. We talked a little bit about how silence can seem uncaring, thus you don't want to do that. Go back to reminding them that you care. You do not want to send a message that inflames them or suggests guilt. Also, references to trying again, fighting more, winning, beating it, all of those can imply that they can't ever stop. And we advise steering away from some of those phrases that contain the word quit or giving up. It isn't your journey, and you don't know what they have endured already, what lies ahead of them, or how much insult they had in their past to get to this point. Finding your way through all of your emotions and theirs is really a struggle. But let them know that you care about them. Be honest with them. Something like, "Gosh, I really don't know what to say, but I am so glad that you told me. I do want to be present for you." A topic of caution for some is religion. If you share the same beliefs and if sharing prayer for you is very natural, then it might be fine to offer that. If they want to discuss broader topics of spirituality, they may be trying to figure out how they fit into the grand scheme of the universe, and you're comfortable with that, proceed. But if you're not comfortable with those types of conversations, tell them so. If you have your own questions and doubts, voice that you're not confident in yourself to be able to answer those questions, and you just don't feel like you're equipped to handle an in-depth conversation on that topic. Likely they may just be voicing words that are in their own mind and they don't really expect an answer. Sometimes this is a topic for a palliative chaplain because it's not an easy one. Be sensitive of your own boundaries as well as theirs and get guidance if you need it. Something else to be cautious of is don't over-talk about their illness. It's not always good just to talk about the illness. You can talk about TV, what's at the movies, having a debate about the politics is certainly a good way to divert attention, and even the politics of your own HOA can provide a welcome relief to rehashing some icky symptom or upsetting news from their physician. Offer to read to them, watch some lighthearted movies together, listen to music, possibly listen to the drama of their own family if it's not health related. If you open with, "How are you feeling?" you might hear more than you wanted. Instead, you might say, "How are you holding up?" Other uncomfortable topics that might come up could include death, where or when or what that death might look like, funeral arrangements, their eulogy, and possibly they'll want to discuss how they're going to be cared for at the end of life. These are things for intimate loved ones and their healthcare surrogate, and we do have a coming video that's going to give more information to the healthcare surrogate about these types of conversations and choices. The healthcare surrogate is the patient's voice for their healthcare preferences when they can no longer interpret their surroundings or communicate their wishes. It's an important conversation, it's an important position, it's a responsible position, and it deserves a lot of attention as well. In summary, learning of a loved one's bad news and worrisome diagnosis can evoke a variety of emotions. Finding the right words is a challenge and is influenced by personalities that are involved, your relationship, ages of those involved, prior experiences, and belief systems. There are things to avoid saying and other comments that can bring comfort, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to admit that you don't have the words you wish you did. You wish you could say something great, but the words can't express the depth of your feelings. Be present when you can. Put something on your calendar so you don't drift away accidentally. Everyone is busy, and ensuring that you set time aside for them is a beautiful gesture. You might say, "I don't know what to say. I'm so glad you told me," and then be quiet. Allow for silence and don't fill it with words. Let them know it's okay to not feel okay and to tell you what they are comfortable telling you, that you're okay to hear that information. Try to be present. Try to resist pulling away and make eye contact with them. Restate and rephrase what they do tell you to ensure that you heard correctly. And if you're anxious or think they are, name that feeling out loud. If they don't want to discuss their illness, simply ask, "What would you like to talk about?" And if they don't have a suggestion, sit quietly for a moment. And if the strain of the quiet becomes uncomfortable for you, maybe you could consider the water cooler gossip from work or around the neighborhood. Just how many miles till your next oil change? Talking maybe about the next sports season. But being present with that person counts for a lot and provides for the companionship that they might be wanting. What comments have you found helpful or hurtful? Thank you for helping others by sharing information. Don't leave any names or specific personal information, but comments that can be helpful to others to find their voice in these difficult conversations are appreciated. Let us know what worked or what didn't for you. What could you have said or did you say that really helped someone? If there's a phrase that you know of that expresses empathy and compassion, please tell us. For those of you who have stayed to this point, more about my hand. It seems to be healing very nicely and really without much pain, and I'm grateful for that. I sustained an injury by colliding with a non-moving object. I'm not bendy anymore. I need to act my age, but in all honesty, I've not been this age before, so I'm not really sure how to act. I'll see you real soon. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you subscribing and passing the information on to others. Bye now.